Hi everyone, welcome back to Omoto Reviews. Anne here, and today I'm going to be talking about something very close to my heart. And this is the Yuri on Ice movie, Ice Adolescence, which 4 years later still hasn't been released.
Why?
Yes, you heard that right. It's April 2021, and the Yuri on Ice movie was first announced in April 2017. Now, 4 years is a very, very long time, and it's enough time for a lot of headcanons to move into my head and live there rent-free. And to celebrate how we all still haven't seen the movie, I have decided to share a few of my theories about not just the plot of Ice Adolescence, but also its production. Because really, there is a lot to speculate about. Before I even talk about what I think is going to happen in the movie, I want to start this video off with the elephant in the room. The reason why the Yuri on Ice movie is taking so long. My theory is this. Director Sayo Yamamoto and writer Mitsuru Kubo had a story, and then they scrapped it. So why do I think this? The first and really the only piece of evidence that we have is when, after over a year of radio silence, the Yuri on Ice team announced out of nowhere that the movie would be postponed to, I quote, substantially scale up the content more than originally planned. So more than originally planned is the operating term here. Let's put into perspective that the movie was first announced in April 2017. And this postponement announcement came September 2019, the year it was supposed to come out. Ice Adolescence was already running hella late. And for you to scale something up so significantly this late in the game would imply that you're changing something in the fundamentals, like, say, the plot. And with a wait that long, I really wouldn't be surprised if the writers behind the movie would want to make sure that it came out the absolute best that it could. And they really had a lot of room to do so at this time, because at this point, the only information that they released about Ice Adolescence was 1, its title, 2, the staff that would be involved, and 3, the single minute of trailer showing a teenage Victor at the Olympics. That's very, very little information out in the open, and it leaves a lot of plot points open to revision and overhaul. Which brings me to theory number 2. Ice Adolescence is not a prequel to Yuri on Ice, or at least it is no longer a prequel to the events of Yuri on Ice. When the key visual for the movie first came out, the consensus from a lot of fans seemed to be that it would be a prequel simply because it showed Victor and Makochin in this desolate, icy landscape. And somehow this would all reflect the isolation that Victor felt as a living legend. And while I do believe that at some point this script was meant to be a prequel, with a second movie or perhaps a second season being announced right after, I think this was changed to accommodate some bigger ideas. Because while I am very much in love with the idea of Ice Adolescence ending with Victor first seeing Yuri skate, or with Victor packing everything up to go to Hasetsu, I think it's very unlikely that the money behind this film would want to put out a movie that didn't give Yuri Katsuki, the Yuri and Yuri on Ice, a sizable role. And, Yuri not being in the film would pretty much ruin the draw for a lot of fans, which is seeing the continuation of a good, well-written romantic relationship between two men that isn't out to queerbait us. Yuri and Victor need time together. I don't make the rules. And the prequel is not going to supply the time together that they need and that we've been waiting for 4 years. Moving on to theory number 3. Ice Adolescence will feature Victor's first Olympics and his last. The very last words that Yuri on Ice leaves us is not "we call everything on the ice love," it is "see you next level." And what could possibly be the next level from the Grand Prix finals? The trailer gives us the answer. It is the Winter Olympics. Our very first trailer features a young, beautiful, ponytailed Victor preparing for what is likely to be his first Olympics. Coincidence? I think not. For athletes, there's really no grander stage, and it would make complete sense for the next level of Yuri on Ice to go the highest level there is, while giving us what we've wanted to see for 5 years? To be clear, that's Victor and the two Yuris competing together on the same level. But given Victor's age, it's likely to be his last Olympics. Around the time the anime ends, Victor is around 28 years old, and contrary to popular belief, we don't actually know what year Yuri on Ice is set. So we also don't know how far soon the next Olympics are in this timeline. But for Victor to get back into competitive shape after a year of not really training, I'm willing to bet that he'll be at least 29 or 30 in the movie. Because at this age, retirement from competitive skating is really more of an inevitability. And it continues this concept that the anime kept picking up, the figurative death of a living legend. But unlike this foreboding feeling that it came with, this idea that Victor was throwing his entire career away just to be Yuri's coach, I think Ice Adolescence is really going to take this in a different direction. I think it's going to juxtapose the young Victor, the one that's still growing into his wings, and an older Victor who's finally freeing himself from this image of an untouchable living legend as an adult. And if we do get this moment, damn, that's gonna be beautiful. Which brings me to theory number 4, where I think Victor is not gonna have a good time. Based on the fact that the key visual and the trailer revolve around Victor, I think it's safe to say that he will be our protagonist. And building on my previous theory that we will likely see him in his final Olympics, I believe that Victor's not gonna have an easy time getting back into shape. Sure, he was fit enough to do some ice dancing at the end of the anime, but I don't think he's gonna be able to pull out all of his quad jumps out of nowhere to compete in the very same season. And given that he's getting older, I would not be surprised that he's starting to feel it. This isn't even to mention the pressure of being back in St. Petersburg and taking on the role of both coach and skater. But you know what? That's just present Victor. I think the greatest intrigue that the trailer has given us is this glimpse of a younger, shinier Victor that's so different from the one that we know. How did this shining, shimmering, manic pixie dream boy become that lonely man skating a cry for help that we meet in the anime? The title Ice Adolescence literally tells us that this is gonna be a story about someone who grows up on the ice. And that very likely begins with a rather cold relationship with his family, or perhaps lack thereof. While the key visual and the trailer both tell us that the mood for Ice Adolescence is going to be a little heavier than what we're used to, I don't think it's going to be a downer, because that's just not Yuri on Ice. For one, Yuri Katsuki will be in the picture, and if my hunch on the timelines is correct, they are going to be training and living together in domestic bliss in St. Petersburg. Will we get a wedding? I'd love it, but probably not. But then again, in a world of queerbaiting and holding hands being the most we could expect from an anime, Yuri on Ice gave us a kiss, an ice dance, and an engagement. At this point, anything is possible. Theory number 5. Ice Adolescence is going to be the last installment in the Yuri on Ice universe. For now. I've talked a lot about how I think Victor's character development is going to come full circle in Ice Adolescence. But personally, I don't really see Yuri's story ever ending. Practically speaking, I don't see the team behind Yuri on Ice getting ready to do another movie or another season anytime soon. Definitely not after they've been living and breathing Yuri on Ice for the past 5 years. If you take a look at what they've been up to, Sayo-kan has not directed any other anime since Yuri on Ice in 2016. And Kubo-sensei does not appear to be working on anything else besides her radio show. I'm sure they both plan to make Ice Adolescence count and make sure it satisfies everyone for a long time. But let's be real, they deserve a break. But beyond all these practicalities, when I think of Yuri on Ice, I think of something that Yuri says himself. That there is no tale more compelling than one that never ends. Though to be more accurate, I would think that he meant that there's no tale more compelling than one with more battles and challenges ahead. Yuri's greatest enemy has always been himself. You can see it in how much of an unreliable narrator he is and how his fears and anxieties color how he perceives himself and other people. And to see him come so far knowing this is already so gratifying. Even when you know there's more to come. And I think that's one of the reasons why we all still enjoyed the finale of the anime despite it being rather rushed and being really open-ended. There is a promise of more things to come. Not necessarily for us, but for Victor and Yuri themselves. I want Yuri on Ice to keep going forever. But realistically and narratively speaking, I don't think there's a better place to stop than with Yuri and Victor competing with each other and with Victor retiring. Whether or not this will happen in Ice Adolescence, however, remains to be seen. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for listening to all my theories, but now I want to know, what are your Ice Adolescence theories? When do you think the movie is gonna come out? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, please do leave us a like, and if you want to see more, don't forget to hit that notification button. Until next time, this is Anne. Bye-bye!